right?
I think you still have to allow it to him as a
No,
host.
I'm allowed already. I'm recording, so no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ah, perfect. Yeah, it works.
Okay.
Good. But George, let me.
George is not in yet. Yeah, he's struggling to get in.
Okay. Do you see how many people we have subscribed for the event?
Around 20, around 13, but around 20 should be joining us.
All right. Okay.
So are we broadcasting now, or
Yes.
is it still like that? Okay.
I think we are broadcasting. I can see Adeshina's face, which is definitely not part of the group. So.
Hi, Adeshina. All right,
Looks like it's frozen.
Okay, use this one. So I can do the screen share. Okay.
Amal, Lucas is also saying he has a problem.
Yes.
To join. I'm not sure what's wrong. Usually they should be able to join immediately. That's how it worked until now. Internal meeting.
Can they join through the main link, the one that they used, for example, to register? Like the one that the attendees will use?
Yeah, they should, like, that's the link. So everyone right now
That's
can
the one
join.
that I sent them just now in a group. So let's see.
Yeah. Internal.
So here, Alberto, you can change it from the gallery view to the speaker view on the top right.
It's okay. I like the gallery view. I love to see people.
So if we have one participant, then they are definitely able to join the link.
Oh yeah, that's actually true. So why it's not working for them?
Got no idea.
Okay, let me just contact Yalta.
You always have a problem joining with an iPhone.
Amal, can you make me the host for a second again? I just want to check something. Okay, so.
So what are you Yasmin based? Is it Yasmin or Jasmine?
Yasmin.
Yasmin. Where are you based?
I'm Beijing. Based in Beijing.
Okay, so 你也是北京人还是你是别的地方 Are you from Beijing? No, but chill. No, you're not Chinese actually. You look Chinese.
No, I'm not Chinese. No, I'm originally from Germany.
Okay.
Right now I'm based in. So we have attendees attending. That means the link should be working.
Yeah, we do.
I will just make you. Oh, okay, now it works.
Oh, George is in. George is in.
Perfect.
Make him a co-host. Finally.
So I have no idea what.
Hi, George.
George's mic is off, so he should.
Yeah. Hi. Hello.
Hello, George.
I'm here.
How are you?
Yeah. Good. Thank you. And you?
Thank you very much. Well,
I guess I have a suspicion that this link that is displayed on the web page and the advertisement, it says it's only for people who has account on Zoom. So that's why it doesn't allow. So usually when we have an event and you just sign in, put in the ID, you just need to type the email and it lets you in. I think it has something to do with when we created the event. Do you have any idea, Yasmin?
Yeah, this internal thing never happened before, so I'm not sure what's the problem.
I think the participants must register in Zoom.
Yeah, but that's it's normal because they have to have a account, otherwise they can't join because of security reasons. There were a lot of things happening on Zoom, so they did this registered, like you need to have an account so you can join Zoom.
Okay,
But
may I suggest that this startupgrind.zoom.us type of meeting kind of embedded together when the G was talking about just 1 hour ago. Is it the first meeting that we're having now like this?
No, we had already since yesterday it started. So I already started some meetings and webinars, and it worked like this. I don't know why it happened for the first time. I will just check later again.
Yeah, let's figure it out later.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the same time, that we are not gonna be able to have everybody who wants to join. So George's point is on the spot, actually.
But I do see Grace, David, and Adeshina joining us, right?
Yeah,
that
but
link.
most probably because they went through, like me, you know, through the registration process. I had to say that I'm a male and that I am a business owner in your startup doing the, you know, registration process of things. It's okay with me. I mean, as long as it's okay with you guys, it's okay with me.
Yeah, hi. Just to chip in, I didn't register for anything. Just use the link from WeChat, so it's working.
Oh, okay.
Oh, great then.
Okay,
That's
thank you, David. All right.
I wish you a good, successful event. I will be leaving.
Okay.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, bye-bye. Alberto, so we had 13 people registered for the event. Do you think that we should wait for a little while, for 3 more minutes, and then we start?
No problem with me.
And meanwhile, you can talk to any of the attendees, David, Adeshina. Feel free to introduce yourself and do a little bit of networking.
Okay, good. Feel free to introduce me. I think I'll do it on a second step. Maybe David and Adeshina would like to introduce themselves.
You gotta unmute David. David is mute now.
Okay. It doesn't. I don't know. I don't think I have hosting power.
How's it in Italy today? How's the weather? How's everything? How's the whole situation?
Well, I can't speak for the situation outside since we're not allowed to go outside. But the sun is shining, the weather is warm, it's nice, it's beautiful. But we're home. I mean, this has been the situation for the last more than 2 months now. Yeah, 2 months. Since February 18, I've been locked down in Italy. Initially voluntarily, and then it was a forced lockdown by the government. Okay, and I started myself to self-inflict the quarantine because I knew that if China does that, then it's something that we should follow as well. And I didn't want, and because I came back from China, and I came back from China before Chinese New Year, and I got somehow I got a bad flu, which did not have evident sign of COVID, because I didn't have respiratory problems, but the situation was severe. So I said, okay, if I got sick, then I better stay home. And I recovered from my flu, but I never got tested, so I don't know if I was positive or not.
Actually, I had something very similar to the flu as well, somewhere in the beginning of January, then in March, and I was like very, very much afraid of that. And I've never tested as well, because they do say that there is a lot of asymptomatic ones, right? Like the ones without any symptoms. I think we can start. We have more members joined now, and I will share the screen.
Sure.
For the presentation. So, can you see the screen now?
No. I can see. Yeah, now the screen is on. Yes. Beautiful.
All right. Yeah. So hello everyone. My name is Amal, and I'm the director for Startup Grind Nanjing chapter. Joined them a month ago. So for those of you who don't know, Startup Grind is a global community for innovators, creators, founders, and entrepreneurs. We help our founders by connecting them, inspiring them, and educating them. We connect them through our network sessions prior to the main part of the events. So in this event, the only option for you to network is the chat box. You can feel free to say what you do, what are you looking for, what is your name, where are you from, and you might be able to find like a business partner or a teammate for yourself. We inspire you by the compelling stories that our speakers have to share, and we educate you through the Q&A session. And today we will also have the Q&A session in the very end. So in this month is presented with AWS, a mentorship month. So, and Startup Grind is currently present in more than 600 cities and 125 countries, and we have more than 3 million entrepreneurs in our community. In Greater China, we had last year, we had more than 12,000 attendees, and we hosted more than 200 events. Regarding Nanjing chapter, which was founded in 2018, only 2 years ago, we already have more than 800 members. We had more than 500 attendees, and we have thrown more than 20 events. And our team, our team is powered only by selfless volunteers that are willing to bring people together, to connect people, and that dedicate their precious time to the SG work. And today we will be talking to Alberto Antonucci, who has got 30 years of business experience with China. And I'm pretty sure that he's got like a lot of wonderful stories to share with us. Let's try to squeeze the best juices out of them.
Thank you very much, Amal, for the presentation. Good morning, everyone.
Hello.
So we can start now. Alberto, I think we can start with your China story and a bit of introduction to your background.
Well, thank you, Amal. My China story started in 1988, so it's more than 32 years ago. I was working very young, but I was working for a big company, part of the Electrolux Group in Europe, and sourcing products to develop new technologies. And I got frustrated by the limited accessibility of new products in the market. That meant that at that time, we're talking about the late 80s, in a time where there was no email, no internet, no GSM, so there was only fixed phone lines and stuff like that. I could only rely on people showing up at my office and going like, oh, we got this new products, and maybe it was 3, 4, 5 years old products for me. So it was not up to date. And so I decided that since there was something in common with every product I got on hand, and that things in common was a little sticker on the back, which says made in Taiwan ROC. And I say, well, I like this rock stuff, okay, and I want to go there. I want to go and rock it, okay. So that was the initiative I got. I was 19 years old, And I flew to Taiwan. It took about 3 days for me to get to Taipei. And once I landed, I found out that the reality had a different aspect compared to the old continent. So the possibility to get in touch with people and get to see new things, new idea, new product, new technology, new everything was so overwhelming that I said, okay, this is the place. I'm gonna be here. I've got to be here. And I moved. Now, 30 years later, as I can see how predictive that intuition was. Definitely, it was something that I will never regret, and I always am grateful for. Grateful to my decision, but most likely grateful to the Chinese people who welcomed me very well. Okay, when I say Chinese, I just want to be clear, and I don't make any distinction between Taiwan and China and so on, is because there is no nationality in the populations. Okay, so many characters in terms of cultures and languages and way to do things between China and Taiwan are very similar today more than before. Thanks to the globalization, of course, but also thanks to the fact that China and Taiwan have the same root. So going back to it, it was great. And I found out that the Chinese have this great capability to adapt themselves to a situation. It was very, very, just a short story, it was very interesting to see how manufacturers, once they realized that the products they were manufacturing wasn't so much more in demand, they were just switching from one thing to another. So at that time, as I said, I was an electronic engineer doing IT. So I was talking to my suppliers for video cards, VGA cards. And then one day by another, he goes like, oh, Alberto, I just wanted to tell you, I'm doing scooters right now. I'm doing, mechanical things, no more electronics. I say, why? I mean, how about your knowledge, your experience, your fact? No, it was too many problems of RMA, too many problems of after sales. Now this product is no RMA at all. It goes make good money. So we just started with new production line. And this is very singular to understand. This is very singular because this let you think how things can take a different shape in China. And even nowadays, if you think that most of the largest manufacturing companies, once there was declared the pandemic, so the country went into lockdown, and the resources of products for medical protective gear were very scarce, then they all changed the production line from electronic assembly to facial mask manufacturing. The first that was converted into it was Foxconn, which is the manufacturer for the iPhone in Shenzhen. Go ahead.
That's actually very great. Like, how do they mobilize? Like, I see great companies like Apple, Ford, and
Exactly.
Tesla. They mobilize up to the situation. Like, how does that happening? Like, how is that happening?
That's in their mentality. This is what is great about China. So what Foxconn understood is that if they had to start production, they had to protect their employees first. So their switch to do facial mask was not to get into the business and resell the product, but it was more to protect their employees and restart production on a full environment, on a full scale. So this is, under certain point of view, a very selfish situation, which is for a greater good. So they say, we first need to protect ourselves. We can't source the product outside. The scarcity of a product is vast. Thus, we better do it ourselves. So they just change the product line. They have the know-how to do things systematically. So they just change the product line with different material, and they buy the machinery, and they start to do the whole registration process for the certification, which is very fast, but still immediate.
But in terms of the future, it's going to be costly for them, right? Because they have to purchase these machines, they have to work out this line of production of which is a completely new product. It face masks. Like,
let me tell you one thing, okay? just to make few mathematical, okay? And machine to do facial mask, the medical protection gear, the free play one. The machinery can cost the cost vary between $35,000 to $70,000, just the machinery. Okay, the raw materials, which is the most important part. Okay, the raw material is just a matter of cents. Okay, so to put up a machinery into work, it takes about a week, or let's say 3 weeks totally, from the time you decide to buy the machine to the time they deliver and they install the machine to you. So you got 3 weeks, a month where you get things done. But then after that, the machine will start to produce about 120 to 200 masks a minute, and which means that within 3 days you paid back the machine in terms of product value. So there is no investment, and after that you need to buy the mask anyway, and instead of buying them you produce yourself. So after 3 days they already paid for the investment, and the machine keep working, and
so
then
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So in this, like, big corporations like Foxconn, they usually do B2B, right? In terms, like, if they sell this facial masks right now, they do B2B. They don't do B2C, right?
Absolutely not. I don't even think they do B2B with the facial mask. I don't think they supply externally. Foxconn, it has more than 30,000 employees. Now you need to change a medical mask
Every 15 minutes.
Yeah. So you see, there is a huge consumption of that. So I don't think they need to do B2B. I mean, that's not their core business. Their business is to do product manufacturing. So that's what they are good at, and that's what they do.
So it's for the internal use. I got it.
Absolutely.
Because I saw that Apple was selling them to the Chinese market.
I didn't see that. I can't say for it, but definitely I would double check if it is a real Apple product or not, because it's easier to sell it with a brand.
They made this fancy masks, and I saw that Ford and another company, what was it? Oh, Dyson, the one that is doing this hair dryers.
Hair dryer with
ventilators, yeah.
Good,
started selling them. All right. So about you, I know that you've lived in a lot of different countries and cities in America, in Europe, in Asia. So, and now in terms of the business, which one seems more appealing to you in terms of the efficiency of running the business, and in terms of getting their resources and using them? Which one is the most appealing?
Do I need time to explain it, or just can go straight with an answer?
Maybe straight with an answer, and then a few points about why is this the most appealing one.
China is simply because of the mindset, and the bureaucracy behind is very easy to afford. I mean, running a business in China is not a matter of getting everything done in terms of bureaucracy. The bureaucracy part, which is not simple, it's easy to go through. The all other situation that I found myself in, both in Europe and in the United States, were literally frustrating. And you see, even in Italy, I'm Italian, okay, and after 7 years in China, I decided that I could do some support to my customers. So I wanted to do a warehousing where I could import the goods for my customers and distribute it. So give them advantages in terms of logistics and infrastructures and after sales support. So I opened the company, and in a very short time, basically in a couple of years, I was able to have up to 54 people working for me and doing a great revenue. That wasn't enough to be a successful entrepreneur. I mean, it took about 3-4 years for me to realize that I was playing Chinese in Italy. That means that I even thought I was Italian. I wasn't following the Italian, backstage rules to do the business, and which was a very frustrating by all means, because it all meant that I wanted to do things very fast, growing very fast, you know, getting services and things in place. But I was forgetting that Italy is not that fast. So I was getting products, innovations, and things. Okay, I opened up new market that did not exist before, but the market did not even thought that the customers were there, and I was selling and making revenue. The company wasn't making money. The company wasn't making money because the system was completely different. The net profit, well, the gross profit I was making out of a business wasn't sufficient to cover up all the hidden taxes of the system itself. And this is one of the reasons why I decided to sell the business and go back to China and start and kept doing what I knew how to do well and to make money. Okay. It was an important lesson for me, and one of the many step back I had to get in my professional life, just to go back to feel satisfied about my business growth. Okay. It wasn't a failure by all means, but it was a step back.
Hi, Alberto. I don't know if you can hear me. This is David.
I can hear. Hi, David. I can hear.
Hi, sorry. This is David speaking. My Zoom crashed before, so I had to log in again. I may have missed your introduction for a few minutes that I was out, but if you didn't say, or if you did say, could you just tell me in very quickly what is the business that you're having now and some basic numbers around it? Because I don't really, just to get a context, actually, what kind of entrepreneur you are.
Absolutely. David, for the last 4 or 5 years, I basically focused on to help enterprises and business owners to get it right in China. So I am a full-time consultant. At the same time, I have a class in 2 different universities in Italy where I teach business strategies, and I have a master class in a very large, in the largest European incubator, which is called H-Farm, which is also based in Italy. And my master class is about China business strategy and mindset. Okay, so this is what I do mostly. I help other people to get it right. But before I could get to this, and the revenue I help them to do is hundreds of millions per year. So, okay, so it's not my revenue, but it's my customers' revenue altogether. Okay, so and it doesn't matter about the products, so, and it doesn't matter about the location. That means I help entrepreneurs to get it right in China, both if they want to source a product in China, if they want to manufacture the product in China, but also if they want to sell the product in China, which is the most delicate part, because it has a stronger impact on the mindset to get it right, to sell product to the Chinese consumer rather than sourcing the product from the Chinese manufacturer. Okay, so that's exactly where I spend most of my time in, just to get it right, for people to have the right mentality and mindset, and to recognize those paths that usually lead to failures for all the Westerners who just go straight to China with their thought that if they did it right in their own country, then they can do it right anywhere else. And that's the biggest lessons that I'm trying to explain. And if you want, I can evaluate more. Please, Amal.
But also before coming to becoming a mentor, a coach, business strategist, you have done a lot of enterprises yourself, right? You've run a few businesses.
Absolutely. I mean, before getting to there, I had my own factories even in China producing IoT devices, and before that I used to design products for Chinese manufacturers. And when I say design the products, I don't really mean the whole electronic behind it or the whole but designing a product, it's a matter of features and details which usually are not understood by the product manufacturer themselves. So, you know, and this is also a limitation which I found very important for the Chinese to understand when they try to do things for the export market. That means that they take a product, they have a great idea, and they say, okay, let's put this, and this kind of features in the product, okay, and we pack it nicely. But then you got a lot of cabling problems, you got a lot of powering problems, you got a lot of ID design, you know, industrial design problems, which are not taken into consideration. So I help them to sort them out before doing the mold, before investing money in the manufacturing process. So the relationship I have is give and take. I give a lot to China, but I also take a lot from Chinese.
And may I ask, I know I don't want to disrupt the flow at all, but just to understand the context.
It's all right, David. It's all right, David. Please feel free to ask any questions.
For this seminar. Considering your 32-year experience in China and very deep background in manufacturing, why have you decided to get out of kind of asset-heavy type of entrepreneurship and become sort of what it seems like maybe a freelance consultant type of person?
Okay, you see, David, this is a good question. And it took a long time before I could understand exactly the purpose of what I'm doing. Let me be more specific on it. Throughout my career, starting with the idea to source the right products for my customers, okay? So that means that I knew what the market was looking for in Europe, okay? And then I sourced the right product to offer to the distributors in Europe so that they could sell the product, okay? I always put myself in between as a trader. So the scope of my business at the end of the day was trading the product. So I was buying the product, selecting, sourcing it, but buying the products, so taking all responsibility and selling the products. And I made huge business with that, okay? I made millions and millions of revenue per month, okay? And it was good. Sometimes it didn't go so well, but most of the time it was well, and I'm pretty proud of what I did. And this went on for many, many years. Didn't matter, I was doing electronics, computers, I was helping banks to buy smartwatches or even the plastic watches as a gadgets, okay? I bought millions of those pieces back in the days, okay? It didn't matter what it was. I was helping, I was the people in between. So I was doing the trading. So, and I was the guarantor in between the buyers and the manufacturers. So I was guaranteeing that the business would succeed. To get to this point, I always spend a lot of time stressing out to the manufacturers how the product had to be done. You know, what characteristic, what features, what design had to be improved, what accessories need to be included, what material need to be used, and what specification need to be followed. And the same I had to teach to the customers, okay, who wanted to do this, you know, and I had to explain to them why did it take so much time, why they couldn't done in a different way, why the price they could find on the market was cheaper, and why they should have paid more for the quality they were asking, and how to solve these problems, you know, and everything behind. So it was, you know, always taking a lot of time to explain to the manufacturers how to do the product right, and to explain to the customers why they had to behave and accept certain conditions which otherwise would have been difficult to be considered a good deal out of the business. Now you understand, but I did this for 25 something years without ever realizing that I was mentoring the customers and coaching the manufacturers, and vice versa. When people ask me to start to sell products into the Chinese market, okay, then I had to mentor the manufacturer in Europe and tell them how they should approach, how they should change the packaging, what kind of regulation had to be implemented, and so on. And then I had to coach at the same time the customers and tell them the difference and the advantages and the characteristics of a product they had to buy, and why it could have had a mean to be sold into the Chinese market. Now, these two things is either mentoring and coaching, and it's always been part of my business. No matter I was doing a trader, no matter I was doing a QA inspector, no matter I was designing the product itself. When I had and I was invited, and on the other hand, I was invited to speak. since ever, I was invited to speak in public to explain the situation to a large crowd. And I was going there free of charge. Nobody ever offered me money to speak because they knew that I could get some business out of this engagement. Now, you understand, it's easy for me. I am having a business, I'm running, I go there, I publicly speaking, like Amali invited me to speak with you guys, and I'm doing it. And pretty sure this interview, somehow someone will catch it and will say, oh, that's interesting. Let me talk to Alberto. Maybe he can help me out with something. But then one day, about 4 years ago, someone invited me and said, would you like to come to talk at our event? You know, we're the largest startup event in Australia. I know you're very busy. We would like to pay you this for that. Is that okay for you? And I go, oh, you're going to pay me for that? Interesting approach. Okay, and so I had a switch. I said, okay, I will start to speak for money. And then if something else come up, then it's all a meaning of that. At the meantime, it was very, very timely, because at the meantime, it was in my biggest crisis ever I had in my business. I was running a factory, I owned a factory. I was running a factory which had a very innovative products in the IoT fields, and I was losing money. I was losing money on a daily basis, and I wasn't able to recover from the investment, and I always needed more money to put in just to keep the ideal of business up. Now, this was a critical point, and I understood on my own terms, again, what I would have told anyone for free, that he was making a mistake, but I couldn't see it on me. And I understood that I tried to be a Chinese in China, but even thought I speak the language, I eat their food, I sleep on their way, you know, and I do everything like a Chinese. I'm very much yellow inside, even thought I'm white outside. I was not getting it right. Chinese, they are going to be always better, faster, cheaper, and more organized when you are in their own territory. So there was no way for me to have a factory in China and be successful unless I would give out all of these things to a subcontractor to let them do it. So I had to shut down my facility, sold out the machinery, lose tons of money, and it was such a pain because it hurt not much my wallet, which was completely empty, but it hurt my feeling. You know, because that was something I really thought I wanted to have. You know, going to be 50 soon, and I said, well, I am the real entrepreneur with a factory in China, you know, this is great. And it wasn't meant to be like that. And that was one wake-up call, which I had learned the hard way, and together with all the accessories which went through with it. But don't try to be Chinese in China. They'll never be, I mean, you will never be better than they are. And this is a very great lesson.
Okay,
Thank you for the answer. As far as we started speaking about being the Chinese in China, do you have any like tactics or tricks of some do's and don'ts when you do business with Chinese people?
Oh, well, one thing important to understand is that you never know enough to be able to say you understand about China. You'll never know enough because China, you know, I'm Italian. I like women, and China is like a beautiful woman. You know, you like her, you look at her, you try to understand her, you cherish her, you give her a breath, and the day you think you got her, then forget about it. She goes with another one because you missed something, you missed the point. Now, China is like this. And to be like this, it's very important to understand that things can change immediately without even you realize. So one big don't is don't think you understand about China. But one big do is do all your homework before you start to do everything in China. Do your homework, study the place, study the people, go there in advance. Even if you have a meeting with your suppliers, okay, they invite you to be, to accompany them to visit the factory, to go with them for a restaurant, for after evening, you know, to take you out, they cherish you a lot, okay? Be glad for that, be honored about that, but Don't forget what they're doing. They're trying to be nice to get more information from you. So if you need to be able to make a deal with them on the same level, then I may recommend you to do your own work first. So you better know who they are, what they do, who they work with, and how they deal, so that you get more information out from them rather than you giving information to them. And this is very important in particular if you're trying to sell to China and you think you found the perfect distributors that will take care of your business. Don't believe it. They will never take care of your business. They will definitely take care of their business. If your products can be part of their business development, then go for it. But don't think that they're gonna do it for you. They do it for them. And this is what you always have to keep in mind. Chinese are great people. Chinese are very much oriented and business focused, but they do it not for you. They do it for them. No matter they buy from you or they sell to you, they are doing it for them. Okay, and this is a very important lesson that you need to keep in mind.
I think it applies to every territory, not only to Chinese. Like whenever
It
you do a
applies.
business, you are the only one who will definitely, like, really, truly care about your business. No one else will do.
Absolutely, absolutely, Matt. It applies to every business, no doubt about it. Yet, people get confused much more in China than any other place in the world. I mean, it's amazing how people change attitude in China. And I can give you hundreds of examples about it. Hundreds and hundreds of people who went like, yeah, it was great, the perfect suppliers, the perfect distributors. We started the big business and then it disappeared. What happened? Well, it has simply happened that you gave him all the information he needed to do the business better with someone else because they were making more money with others, okay? So it applies everywhere, but in China it's very strong.
Now
So what sort of
we
protections do you use to prevent this kind of situation? Or when you say do your own research before you go to the site visit of the factory, how do you actually do that? Considering, you know, well, one thing is the language barrier, but even if you get past that, maybe the resources to do this type of search are not the same as we are used to.
Well, it's very difficult to give you an answer about it. I mean, there is not one answer. You talk about the language barrier, and it's an important thing about the language barrier. And the first things I can tell you is if you cannot manage the language on a high level, that means it's not. I mean, it doesn't matter if you know the numbers and you know how to say xie and bye-bye, okay? That's not enough to manage a deal, okay? You need to understand a little bit more than that. You better find someone with your same origin, that means someone coming from your same territory or country, that speaks the language and has been living in China for at least 4 to 5 years. That helps you with a translation. Even better if he has a Chinese wife or so. Or a Chinese boyfriend, okay? Because they have been living, the frustration of a misunderstanding before. Now, there are certain situations where you will get no way out, simply because of the cultural barrier is enormous, okay? Chinese, they don't have what I call a linear logic when they talk to you. I mean, if you're interested about a product or a service, okay, you go like, okay, how much, okay? But then the answer you get back is never the price that you ask, okay? Or the direct answer is a question backward to you, because they're gonna tell you, okay, how much you offer, okay? So and then you fell into the gap because you go like, yeah, I would pay 100, and they go like, yeah, we got a new one. My cost is 50, I make 50 out of profit, okay? Because that's what you think. Okay, so that you see, the reverse engineering of a question is always the point. So never go with a direct questions, and use their way of logic, which I call circular logic. So don't go and ask for the product price. So for the product definition, okay, go and ask for something else which is related to the product, so that you can get to a conclusion where you add the single elements and you got the finished definition. This is one suggestion I could give you. So on top of the language barrier. So let someone do the interpreter for you, but let someone who knows their culture, not only their language, okay? It doesn't make you, I mean, it's not speaking Chinese that you know the Chinese, but is living with their environment that makes you understand, even thought you will not understand, but suspect that things are different from what you do.
Okay. So I had one more question about that internal and external kind of caring about your business. Like you're saying that Chinese people will choose for another business partners if they're not feeling comfortable with you and they can make more money with the other partners. But now, what if we speak internally about this? What if I'm just starting my startup or business and I see this internally, that some of my teammates, that they don't really care about the product, about the vision that I have. How do I become as a CEO, as a founder, how do I become a true leader in my company, in this like endeavor that I'm taking, and how do I make them follow me, believe in the vision that I have, and keep them together so that they're not like kind of, you know, scattered around with their attention?
Okay, there are a few things which are different from Western cultures, and maybe in this particular case, I would suggest you to be always very ambitious with your thoughts. So you know that you're gonna get from 1 to 10, okay? Then always say that you want to go to 100, okay? Your internal target is, if I reach 10, I'm fine with it, but you know, point the moon, okay? If you want to reach the stars, okay? So just go and talk about reaching the stars. Okay, once you get to the moon, and so people are already satisfied with that, okay? And so you give them the ambition. So transfer this ambition. Let them see how invulnerable you are. Let them see how strong in your mindset is a leading mindset. So you need to give them the opportunity to truly believe in your goal. And it's only you can transfer this knowledge. It's only you can transfer this empathy. Okay, so they really need to see you as a source of information and as a source of improvement. It's not just a matter of salaries. I got people who stay, you know, when I decided to shut down the factory facilities, my employees said, Alberto, we're gonna work for you without salary for the next 6 months if it is a financial problem. And it was so sad for me to say it's not a problem of money. Yes, money is part of a problem, okay? But it's not a problem of money. It's a problem of goals. My goal shifted. I understood that I was driving toward the wrong direction. It wasn't me to be in the factory, in the manufacturing business. I could have done much better results if I was outside of the whole managing the factory itself. So once you explain this to them and you tell them exactly your strengths is, you know, you're a strong man even if you have a defeat. You know, the way you catch the kick in your back, okay, or the punch in your stomach, okay, it doesn't matter how much it hurts you. It matters how fast you stand up again and keep on striving for your target. Change your target, move fast, go further. Then they recognize in you a leader. They recognize in you a strong example to follow. And this is why they are still, if I call today and say, oh, I'm starting again, they will quit, most probably they will quit their job immediately to come and work for me. Not because I'm their foreigner boss, not because I will pay them more, but because they trust in what I have in mind and my goals. And this is a very nice lesson. It works pretty much everywhere, but with the Chinese, you know, they are loyal under this point of view. If they recognize in you a leading power, they will keep to work with you.
Okay. Now, I know that you mentored some startups, and I wanted to ask, what was one of the last startups that you mentored in one of the last cases? Could you share like the case with us of mentoring, like the process?
Oh, okay. The very last, okay, this last few weeks, I participated in a few hackathon. There was this hack the virus moods, you know, and so Estonia, Sweden, Europe, the whole Europe, hack for Italy, you know, and now there is this EU versus the virus hackathon that went on, okay, and I mentored, and it was very interesting. It was very interesting. I learned a lot of things, and there are these two projects which I mentored, which I feel very very proud of being able to give some perspective, some perspective of different business approach. So let's talk about one of them, which is these two doctors. One is a very important doctor from NASA in the US Army, who has been researching for the last 20 years about post-traumatic syndromes that the military have after they come back from a war zone. Okay, and he realized certain patterns that the brain works after experiencing such a bad situation. And what he said that the same pattern that I found on soldiers coming back from a war zones, okay, I can recognize them on the attitude of people who were forced into quarantine and they lose their job and they lose things. And also, I can see them on the same line of people who are trying to help the suffering one. So doctors and paramedics in hospital where such an emergency come up, okay? And one thing that we need to do is to prevent the burnout. So with my understanding of the brain, how it works, okay, I can read the patterns and I can tell people when to stop before the burnouts comes in. You know that statistically, a lot of medical employees have died of COVID-19, even though they were very healthy. What happened is that COVID-19 is a very bad virus that attacks, in particular, people who have already other pathologies. So, for instance, as I said in the beginning, I think I got it because I had a very bad flu symptom without respiratory problems, but it was during the period I came back from China and I felt sick for about 10 days very badly, okay, but I didn't need any hospitalization. And so, because basically I am healthy, I don't have any other pathologies going on, but would I have been not so well, probably would have conquered, you know, my lungs and got me into respiratory deficits and needed hospitalizations. Okay, so vice versa, we back in the situation. Why those paramedics who were healthy before, they got sick, they got infected by COVID-19, they got sick and they died. Just because during the process of treatment, the patients, they got stressed out, they got burned out. During the burnout, body, you know, your brain keep you doing that, keep you focused on what you need to do, but your body says goodbye to you. So there is a deficit of all internal organs, that there is a lesser protection from your internal antibodies that weakens their systems, and you know, and you got really sick and then you die. Okay, so this is how it works. This is a process behind it, and they were like, okay, we need to find a way to get the people in and prevent them from. But their approach was very medical. It was not practical. So it was a no end to it. And to do this, okay, then I had to reconsider their whole experience and try to come out with my own experience, which comes from IoT. So I said, okay, let's work out a systems where people need to check in, and it has to be privately, so people don't have to tell everybody who you are and what you do, but it has to be something very fast. And we could recognize those stress symptoms for the burnout. And so then we invite them to take a rest, even though it's in the middle of a shift. Okay, so to do this, we designed a new product which was reading the symptom from facial movements and recognizing the paramedics from a QR code, okay, and recognize that at the same time, all protective gear were in place. So obviously there is a camera behind, but the camera does not do facial recognition, but it does only recognize certain actions, certain movement of a face, so that it can tell you, yeah, there is no sign of burnout, there is a pre-sign of burnout, there is an evident sign of burnout, it's already burnout. Okay, so 4 different levels to do this.
So which means like the decision, the diagnosis is only based on the movements of your face.
Yes.
Like what the camera does, like, and
yes,
it decides
yes,
if you have a
yes.
or not.
Your muscles have different patterns during a burnout syndrome, and instead of you can, I mean, it's somehow obvious, you know. Look at yourself when you're tired of a long stressing day. Look at yourself at the mirror, you don't even recognize you, and when you wake up in the morning, but you're fresh, and or after some gym, but you are pumped up, okay, and you recognize yourself and you see how different it is. Well, these patterns have been studied for over 20 years by these doctors, but they didn't know how to put it into a product. So they had to go and look themselves, okay? Instead, they said, no, we can create, you know, a facial movement recognition, so that we could work it out.
So it's an AI, right? Like a program, machine learning that they fed with a lot of different patterns of movements,
Exactly.
and now it's able to
exactly.
I got it. So I think we are running out of time now, and we got like 10 more minutes for the Q&A. So
okay.
if anyone has questions, you can ask them right now. Either we have a few questions. If we still have time after the questions, then I still have a few of my own questions.
Okay.
What is the first question? By the way, if anyone has questions, you can just raise hands or unmute yourself and ask one. Okay,
I see Adeshina is raising up his hands. Okay, hold on, I try to unmute her.
Yeah, Adeshina.
Okay, Adeshina, go ahead, speak.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I want to ask a question about what is going on about COVID-19, and also with Chinese, let me say with China, because there are a lot of news that is trending now around the world, even though in the US, in Germany, some part of Africa, especially even in Nigeria here, the Chinese eventually invent the disease. Not that it's natural. You understand what I'm saying? That they invent it. So what is in the mindset of people right now, especially in Nigeria? They were afraid of maybe transacting business with China. So with this COVID-19, do you think is not going to affect the image, the integrity of Chinese people?
Okay. Thank you very much for your question. It's a very sensible one. Okay, first of all, I mean, this is my personal opinion, okay? I truly don't believe that China has ever remotely thought about inventing a virus and spread it into their own country, or spread it around the world. I don't think that China did. I don't think that America did. I don't think that anyone would do such a things. Okay, so this is my very first point. Second, what people believes, it depends on cultures. It depends on cultures. It depends on, people believes about many things, depending on even what the religion they have. What I think is that we need to have a very important approach to the market and be honest on what we do and understand how things could and should be done to be always on the right path of a story. Now, discrimination, which is the biggest problem we're gonna face about Chinese and about other countries, okay? It's always been in place for centuries. But the discrimination goes even between me and my neighbor here, okay? Because I think my garden is greener than the others, okay? But that's not a discrimination point. That's a matter of education. So I don't think we should think that China is in any case behind any masterminding of a virus. Actually had a very strong action of self-proud to announce worldwide that there was this virus going on in one of our cities and they had to shut it down. And this is one of the major problems that has been caused by the Chinese education systems as well, you know, admitting that there was a fault in their system. But then they did it. I don't know if they did it too soon or too late. Important is that they did it. There was enough time for the West to be aware of a situation and to let anybody take actions and precautions to protect their own country and their own borders. And some countries like Italy have been affected very badly. Italy, America, and UK and Spain. Some other countries have been affected in a different way. Now, every country has peculiarities, have different cultures in terms of how to respect things or not. For instance, if a Chinese government tells everybody to stay home, all Chinese stay home. If the Italian government tells everybody to stay home, they go like, oh, how about my party tonight? I need to go to the party tonight. So that was their fault, okay? So it's all a matter of how you are educated. And I tell you, in terms of recognizing authority, China is very good at that. Chinese, they do recognize the authority of the government, also because the government recognizes the value of their population. And there is no mind game within that. I think it's, I can say that pretty much safely. It's not an authoritative government in terms as dictators. It's authoritative in terms as a good father, good family father. The government takes care of his people. He knows that without its people, they go nowhere. Doesn't matter having a big country if the people don't follow you. And they learn it. They learn it. They know how to handle that. Amal, would you like to add something on it?
You know, like so many opinions, as many people as like we have as many opinions as many people we have. Like, I don't know what to add to that because I had so many talks about that. I'm just I've already burned out about talking about this topic, you know.
Good.
But
Listen,
if some laboratory, some secret laboratory from Wuhan, I just don't want to talk about that. I'm just saying like my light in the end of the tunnel, and I'm going to my like destination.
well,
Like,
it's not a secret laboratory, you know. It's not a secret laboratory. It's a very publicly known laboratory. I mean, there was a book written in a science fiction books written in the, what was it, in the 80s or in the 90s? I don't even remember. I went back to check. I found the book, and it was written, you know, that there may have been a virus attack from a seed coming out of a laboratory in Wuhan, because the laboratory was there. and they do study virology. So what else can come out of a virologist laboratory if not the virus? Anyway, I see that in the chat there are some questions. Would you like to read the questions so that I can see?
Yeah. So we got a question from a comrade from George Chobanan. What were the challenges you faced when you started your business in China, and what are they going to be in the near future, in your opinion? So let's talk about the problems in the near future, like how the market will change because of the COVID.
Okay, the major problem with the market today is how to move in and out of a country. You see, everything goes online today, but the offline experience, the on-site experience is so much more valuable for anybody who wants to do business with a different country. You know, the very first questions I ask anybody who want to deal business with me is, did you go to China before? I mean, and if they say yes, I said, okay, and what was your feeling? Okay, how did you feel in China? What was the benefit you got back from your trip? Okay, and the answer are always very similar. They said, oh, China is a great country, easy to move around. It's very safe. It's very safe, and this is very important. And at the same time, they go like, and I got very much frustrated. And the reason is because they always expected answers to the questions they made, but it was not that they got the wrong answers. They just put down the wrong question. And that's why the frustration come up. And then we go back to the same things, which I mentioned in the beginning, where, you know, people think with a linear logic in the West and with a circular logic in China, okay, in the East. Okay, and so that's one thing.
All right, we got one more question from Siddiq. Is there a systematic approach for an international student wanting to transition into the turbulent waters of entrepreneurship in China? So I think what he means is there like a systematic approach of starting a business in China or becoming an entrepreneur in China? But it's a broad question.
It's a very broad question. So let's try to systemize it. Okay, let's try to go by point. Okay, first of all, you're a student. Okay, and your ambition is to become an entrepreneur. Okay, so the transition does not happen overnight. Okay, yeah, of course, we got plenty of examples of people who got success overnight because they had the right thought, the right idea at the right time in the right place. Okay, but that's not most of the people's case. Okay, so what I would recommend you is identify your niche. Identify your niche and make it your peculiarity. Once you found your niche and make you peculiar about it, then identify the company that does it. And don't choose the company. Well, there are two approaches. One is you choose the company, so you bring with your CV, with your curriculum, you bring the company name behind it. You know, you go and work for Google, and maybe you're cleaning the toilet at Google, but then you can write, I work at Google, okay? And then you go do the same cleaning job in Facebook, and then you wrote, I work at Facebook, okay? It doesn't matter what you did, you know, because the company name is so important that in your CV goes like employed by Google from year to year, employed by Facebook from year to year, and what you want to do now, you want to be in the sales position with Tesla, okay? Maybe we will choose you because you're a past experience, but even they didn't know that you were a cleaner in or something, okay? So that's one approach is you choose the company name, doesn't matter what you do. The other approach is you choose the company leader. That means you choose a boss. It could be a manager, it could be the owner, it could be someone, even in small companies, but you choose the boss. I mean, you see something great that the boss has. It could be a mindset, could be a project, it could be an attitude, it could be something that you can learn and work with him, serve him, help him, take tasks out of him so that you can learn. Even if you don't know how to do it, you go like, okay, let me try. That is an entrepreneurial approach. You see, I often have people that ask me, to train them. A lot of students, you know, from universities where I teach, they come back to me and they go like, yeah, I'd like to learn this. And I go like, okay, you do that. He goes like, but I never did that. Then you study, do your own work, learn it, come back to me and tell me what you learned. Okay. So doing things is the best way to learn. You see, there is one thing which I understood is that the best way to learn is to teach. And now, since I started teaching, I learned so many more things from my students that I wasn't even thinking about it before, because I was blinded by the objective I needed to reach with my entrepreneurial business. Okay, so I'm learning more now that I'm transferring my knowledge rather than what I used to learn when I was doing the project itself. So try to train other people, and then you learn new skills on what you have known to do it already well. So you choose your company name, or you choose the people you want to follow. These are the two skills that you better have if you want to have an entrepreneur. Work with them when you feel you're comfortable with it. Okay, share your idea. Maybe your boss will be your best partner. You never know.
Yeah, they say that you have to become the shadow of the person that you want to be in the future, and you have to like chase this person all the time,
Absolutely.
like help him
Absolutely.
learn.
You need to absorb everything.
And the way you said that the best way to get better at practice is to do things is so much relatable to me. And then that the best way to learn is to teach something that you are not like a full expert of about.
Absolutely.
I've experienced it myself.
Absolutely.
So totally agreed. I think one of the last questions that I'm gonna have for you is, if as long as you do mentorship, do you have any preference towards like the startups or the businesses that you mentor? Maybe B2C or B2B, who would you be interested in? Because maybe we might have someone from our community with a good startup enough that would appeal to you, and maybe you would love to work together. Like, do you have any preferences? Maybe you would give them a chance.
No, it's not. I don't choose the project. I choose the people.
Mm-hmm.
You see, the example I gave you before, I knew nothing about facial patterns. I didn't know anything about EC reading. I didn't know anything about post-traumatic syndrome. Okay, I did not understand a thing about it. Okay, but the people I was talking to were people who were passionate about wanting to find a practical solution to what they knew. So they knew how to do things. They didn't know how to implement it. They didn't know how to make it becoming a product. Okay, so I love that concept. You see, I was helping them to step up. I was not after the project itself. It could have been any other different things. Okay, but that people, they gave me enthusiasm. You know, they gave me empathy. And that's where I love to be involved with, where I see something that really goes in an empathic way.
I got it. So you don't choose the name, you choose the people.
Absolutely.
I got it. Okay, so thank you for joining us today. And if anyone would love to reach out to Alberto, you can reach out to me, and I will share his contact to you if you're going to have any questions. But Alberto is very, very busy, so maybe he'll find some time to have a chat with you. Alberto, thanks again. And
thank you.
Yeah, stay safe.
It's been a very nice talk. Thank you, Amal. I appreciate you inviting me. Take care.
Yeah, thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Alberto. Very interesting
Thank you,
talk,
George.
and would love to hear a lot of more information from you, but time is limited. Thank you very much again. Thank you for your time, and hope you
Thank you
will
very
be
much.
very healthy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.